Okay, guys, welcome along. Good to get a round of footy, and it was great to be out there. General feedback was everyone had a pretty good day, and our umpire got off to a good start. I think we didn't have too many issues, not that I'm aware of anyway, so no news is good news. So well done. Thanks for sticking with us and putting your hand up to get back involved. And yeah, it was great to be back out there. Bit of rain this week though, so it might not get the same weather we've had the last couple of weeks coming up. Okay, we'll kick off with some acknowledgement of milestones. So we've got a number of goal and boundary umpires that did their first Div 1 game last week and this week. So in the goals, Adrian Donahue, Nathan Marshall, Luke Terry doing their first games. Toby Cook and Matt Zakalakis. Always have trouble with that name. They're doing their first game on the boundary, Toby and Max. 50th game on Gillingham in the goals, and 100th game, a couple of fieldies. Lee Baker, who's one of our rec umpires, doing his 100th on the official tally. I'm sure he's done many more as a clubby or ones where we don't have records of. And Sean Field, after having a bit of a practice run in the trial games for his 100th game, actually does his 100th this week. For those that didn't see, he actually got the players to line up and acknowledged his 100th in the trial games, not knowing that the trial games didn't count. But anyway, his 100th this week. So well done, Sean. A good achievement. 400th game.
Didn't Rob do 100? Didn't Rob Biddle do 100?
I don't know. Rob?
No, I did mine last August.
Yeah. No, Baz, I keep a pretty close eye on it, mate. Jason Mounts doing his 400th this week. So, of course, Jason's had a magnificent career, a number of Casey Cooper medals and grand finals, and chalks up his 400th Adelaide Footy League game this week. So well done, Jason. And last week in the goals, Tony Lanetol, one of our recreational goal umpires, did his 500th game. So well done to all those milestones. All right, so yes, round of applause from Barry. Well done, mate. Holding the ball. Who noticed a bit of a change in the AFL on the weekend? So I just found it interesting. I thought I'd bring up. We discussed it recently on a Zoom meeting, and I said we just got to stick to what we said at the start of the year, and it looks like the AFL are coming into line with what we're doing, which is going to make our job a bit easier. So, yeah, they certainly are starting to be a bit tougher on the players on the ground who takes possession. And so let's just keep on doing what the interpretation video says, and there's no doubt our footy is being improved by the way we're adjudicating holding the ball these days. So important that we're as consistent as we can on that one. Okay, so I said recently that we hope to have training recommenced this year. That won't be the case, unfortunately. There's a bit of an issue with securing a venue, so we won't be having official umpires training this year. We'll just keep these Zoom meetings going, and it's up to you guys to obviously keep up your fitness, and we'll keep emailing out the recommended training sessions, and we'll look at getting back together next year.
Colin, it's Rob. Any chance a Crow-style camp or something like that we could have instead?
You're an absolute comedian there, Rob. All right. We are actually looking at having a pre-season camp next year, so you never know. I might be able to use some of those ideas and freak you guys out. Who knows? We will look at doing a fair bit of rotation this year into B grade. So, again, if I don't speak to you before appointments come out, it's just the normal rotation. Because we're not having the normal coaching structure, we've got a lot of new umpires that need some assistance. So if you're an experienced umpire that's into B grade, it'll be most likely because you're running with one of the newbies. And we appreciate your support with that. And when the games get heated, we need you to step up and really help them out in those cases in particular. But any feedback you give them would be appreciated, I'm sure. I hate having to remind you about this, but unfortunately I keep getting comments that there are some umpires that rock up late. A reminder that all umpires, field, boundary and goal are expected to arrive at least 45 minutes before the start of a game. if you are delayed, then just let one of the umpires know by ringing them, not texting them, so they're aware you're on your way. Or if you can't get hold of one of them, just let Peter, Angel, or myself know. Another reminder, this is something that I tend to focus on every year, it seems, but just if you have a red card, there's one thing to get it right on the ground, and that's important, but it's also important when we come off that we document it properly in the app. And the most common mistake is when umpires ignore the league's guidelines for grading impact. So there's a table from the tribunal reference manual, which I'll put in the notes, but it is really important that we get this right, because that information really determines how the league handles it. So a low impact is where there's minimal or no impact on the player. The player continues to play the majority of the match and suffers no or minimal ongoing issues. So even if you think it's a reasonable strike, but the player gets up straight away and keeps playing, it has to be a low impact strike. A medium impact is when there has been some impact on the player, or the player's left the field for a lengthy period of time, or some possible lower level ongoing treatment required. High is where there's major impact to the player, players unable to participate in the remainder of the game, or there's going to be ongoing issues that require medical intervention. So this is where we do sort of take in consideration the resultant of the reportable act. And severe, well, that's, you're probably going to see the player carried off on a stretcher. It's really obvious there's going to be a serious injury, likely going to need some serious treatment. You're not going to get too many of those. So just really important that you guys are aware of those guidelines that will be in the coaching notes. Yeah, and even if you think something's quite serious, if it hasn't really impacted the player too much, we can't have it any more than low. And certainly severe is really unusual. And it would be really obvious if a player is severely impacted. So we had a really good report on the weekend, dealt with properly on the ground. But when we get a rating of 10 out of 10 come back, we start to think, start to question the evidence. And so that's where we just need to make sure that we don't over-exaggerate an incident because that impacts on how the league deals with it. All right, one more point before we get onto the coaching video. There's a question asked in the Central Umpires report, were there any issues that required attention? There used to be this big long list that you had to answer. Most times it's going to be no, but really that's there for if you have something that you're really concerned about, you think the league should be notified of. One thing which is worth noting is if there is an ambulance called for during a game, it's worth putting that in that section, just because sometimes that indicates there may be something the league needs to follow up. So just get into a habit, if the ambulance is called for in a game, just put that in that section. If there's something that really urgently needs to be sorted out, because sometimes that section with everything that's going on in the league office doesn't get looked at till later in the week. So if you actually want something addressed straight away, just send me an email as well. So that information for the app doesn't come to me, it goes to the office, which will get looked at, but if it needs to be urgently looked at, just give me the heads up so I can make sure they get onto it a bit quicker than they otherwise would. All right, any questions on any of that? Any questions on anything that happened on the weekend?
Just one on the app, Colin.
Yep.
Is there any move to get the issues fixed for Android phones?
It's not just the Android phone. I think we're all having issues for it being, logging in and it's not working. You have to uninstall, reinstall. It's a pain in the neck. I don't know why that is. I'll take it up again with Nick Byrne, who works at the Sample in this area. At the moment, we just have to deal with it best we can. We got all the results in, and appreciate all you having to do what you did in the weekend to make it work. But I am sort of, Pete and I are trying to get it sorted.
Good.
Anyone else?
Cole?
Yep.
How long does a melee, when it's called, what do you do after the melee's been called? Because I had one on the weekend which got pretty heated, and the senior umpire come in to help me in it because I was concentrating on what was happening to my left, but another scuffle broke out on the right, which he come into.
Yeah.
How long does a melee sort of go on for until it breaks up, or do you start chucking players out? Or
those incidents are going to get easier as you become more experienced, mate. We don't expect you to have to nail it when you're in your first game like you were on the weekend. So that's where Greg Van was with you, and he jumped in to make it happen as far as dealing with it. Well, you really need to get in there quickly, talk to players, warn them. If you see an instigator, you want to pull yellow cards and get the main players involved in the melee off. Give them time to calm down. If you see something serious where it's a red card, then get them off as well. If you can get the game going, then do so. So throw the ball up and they'll forget about fighting most times and start playing. And if they continue to keep fighting, that's where the melee rule is instigated and the clubs are fined. If you can't get the game going, you blow the whistle 3 times and you'd be calling out melee rule in between. And if they continue fighting, then the clubs are fined like they were in your game on the weekend.
Yep.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, because it just got the one on the left sort of was heating up, but then the one on the right just really took off, and that's when John Morrison came in, called the melee rule. So I was sort of trying to break up this one, but that one sort of really took off more than this one here. So
there's a lot happen in those situations. And for you in your first game, mate, we're not expecting you to have to deal with it, as you would in your 200th game. It'll be something you'll get better at. And for those that want to have a look at the West Croydon Fitzroy A-grade game on Dartfish, about the 21-minute mark, there was a scuffle that broke out. Matt Smith handled it really well, got 3 yellows, got the players off. There was possibly a red card incident in there, but don't blame him for not seeing it because there was a lot going on. And I do tell you not to escort the players off. In this case, he chose to walk off with the 3 players, and it was a bit of a unique situation. I don't want you to get too close to those players, but he felt that if he wasn't showing some presence with the 3 players getting off, that there would have been a further fight if he wasn't in the taking him off. So I back him on that. It's actually a really interesting bit of vision to watch. But Matt is a very good umpire at dealing with those sort of issues. So yeah, if you get any time, go and have a look at it.
Thanks, Cole.
I got 21-minute mark. Which quarter was it, Colin?
So it's just 21 minutes into the video. Don't worry about looking at it now. You have a look at it later. He does pull a red card at the 45-minute mark, I think it is too. So you can have a look at that as well, which again was very well handled. The players accepted a penalty for that one. So yeah, a pretty hot game. Matt and his partner Mark Woods did a really great job.
Thanks, Cole.
Good on you, Smitty. Well done.
I'm sure everyone will go and watch it now. Happy to sign autographs later, guys.
Pin-up boy this week, right? All right, any other comments or questions before we go into the coaching video?
Yeah, Colin, it's Rod here. I've got one question for you. From the game on Saturday in the C4, we had the Smosh West Lakes B grade warming up behind the goals, and all of a sudden we had about 30 Smosh players in that area. Yep. Is there any rule that says clubs shouldn't be warming up behind the goals? Because it's been, it has happened before, but this time it's really close to the field where they were.
Yeah, I don't like it, mate. So it's happened in games that I've been involved with. I've stopped the game and actually asked them to clear the goals before we get the game started again. They shouldn't be getting in the way of the goal umpires. I know some grounds there's limited places to warm up, but they just shouldn't be warming up while the game's on straight behind the goals.
Yeah, I've had that as a goal umpire where I've asked them to move out of the area, and those teams and coaches have politely told me where to go. I got frustrated last year at a game at Westminster,
and I think I'd asked them nicely about 3 times before I actually said, if you don't clear it, I'll start paying a free kick, which probably isn't technically the right thing to do, but it got some action. I wouldn't want you paying a free kick for that. It is as an absolute last resort, but if you just got to keep persisting with asking them to clear it, and then if you get a break at the end of the quarter, just speak to the state official and tell them to clear it out, because it's not fair on the goal umpires, and it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, it makes it hard to pay actually who's marked the ball, and I have nearly been hit a couple of times by errant kicks.
Yeah, 100%.
Colin, I believe it was last year or maybe the year before, you actually told us to actually just stop the game and clear it. Don't accept it, because the danger to the goal umpires was immense.
Yep.
So I don't think there's any question. It just, they move. If you just stop the game, say we're waiting until you move. So.
Yes, correct. In most cases, they will.
Yeah.
The case I was talking about, I did that, and then they'd move and then come back and keep warming up. But you're right. If you ask nicely, in most cases they'll do as you ask.
All right, thanks, Colin.
No worries, mate. Anything else before we go on the coaching video? Okay, let's pull it up. Okay, Dave, just give me the thumbs up if you can see that. Beautiful. All right. So you've got 5 examples here. If you've had a look at the video, you've got a bit of already. I sent the link out earlier this morning. You've got a bit of advantage of those that haven't watched it. First one's pretty easy. Pen and paper if you've got one. All right, we'll go back and have a look at it soon. Next one. All right, on to the third example. That's a really interesting one, that one. All right, fourth example. Hope you all got that one right. That's another one that's worth having a look at closely. All right, so we'll go back to the start, and I'll see if I can pick on someone that can actually give us the right answer.
Cole, they're just they're flickering, just flick. There's no fluid in
right. That's what the comment was last week, mate. That's why I sent out the link for you to have a look at it before. And I know some of you wouldn't have seen that email today, but just get into the habit of Monday morning when I send the email out, having a look at the coaching video in advance if you can. I understand you're busy, but if you get a chance to watch the video beforehand, it will help. All right. So looking at the first example. All right, let's, instead of picking on someone want to have a go at answering that?
Yeah, Cole, I reckon it's 25. The guy from Westies has cut in and entered the protected area.
Yep. Yeah, is that Marty?
Yes, Colin, how are you?
Oh, very good, mate. Yes, correct. So we'll go and have a look at it. So we only want to pay 25 of that impact on the play. So Mark's taken, this player who's coming in, he actually stops himself I wouldn't want you penalising for that. There's nothing really in that contact. But if you're watching the player that is coming through now, to the left of the player with the ball, he actually puts his hand out to smother. The moment he does that, that's where you want to penalise. If he was just running through, technically within the 10-metre protected zone, but doesn't impact on play, just let it go. But when he goes to smother like that, that's when you want to pay the 25.
Yes.
All right, someone want to have a go at that one? That's a nice, easy one for someone to jump in.
Looks pretty straightforward, Colin. He pushed him in the back before the ball got there. Or just as it got
whether
there.
it's before he got there
Or just around about the same time.
So if he takes the mark and is then pushed, that's where you pay 25. You're right, Buzzy, it's 25, but he takes the mark and then he's pushed.
Then he gets a push, yeah, so 25.
Yeah, so if he's pushed before he actually touched the ball, then he's just paid the free kick. But he's taken the mark and then pushed, so he's delayed the play. So that's why he paid 25. So, yeah. This one is a real interesting one. Someone want to have a go at that one?
Yeah, Cole, I think it's holding the ball. The West Adelaide player had prior opportunity.
Actually, can't see who's speaking there. Who's that?
It's Bill.
Oh, Bill.
Yeah.
He's had prior opportunity. Why has he had prior opportunity?
Well, I can't see the video probably now, but when I had a look at it previously before, I thought that he'd had taken a couple of steps, and then that was his prior, and then was tackled.
So the steps instruction was something that I used before we tightened up holding the ball. So I used to say 1 or 2 steps wasn't a prior. Don't worry about the steps these days. Prior opportunity is whether he's had a chance to handle or kick, or if he does something like fend off, or if he's on the ground and takes possession. So I'll come back to you, Bill. Anyone else want to give their impressions of what happened?
Yeah,
Colin,
I reckon there was a high tackle there. I reckon he had his arm around the top of his shoulder there.
Yeah,
so I agree with that one.
That's the answer I was looking for, because that was my first impression. And if you saw what you believe is a high tackle, we're on the side of the ball player and pay the high tackle. But the actual right decision in this example is holding the ball, because I'll show you if we slow it down, there actually isn't a high tackle. But the tackle
just looking at it, the first shot when you get to
the tackle is
just below
the
that's
shoulder.
Where it looks high, but yeah.
And he actually ends up grabbing the top of the jumper. Why it's a prior opportunity is he actually tries to fend off, so that makes his prior opportunity. And the tackle coming over, it lands to his side, so it's not in the back. So the right decision is holding the ball, Bill. But I wouldn't be upset if you saw a high tackle in that and paid the high tackle. But slow mowing it, we don't get a second look at it all the time, shows that actually it wasn't high, and holding the ball was technically the right decision. But yeah, not upset if you paid a high tackle. Will make sense?
Yep.
Good to know you can still count on one thing. Budget Direct.
There's a bit of background noise there. Just want to make sure you guys have muted yourself unless you're wanting to answer a question. Jason, it might be you, mate, because you're coming up the top of this. Yeah, thanks. All right. Someone who hasn't answered yet want to come in and answer that one?
Colin, Matt Harris here. Pretty easy. Just came in late, got him high after he's marked at 25.
Yep. Spot on. What would you want to do in that instance?
Make sure we talk to the player, tell him, be careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure
pretty
there's no
clumsy.
spot flies. Yeah, spot flies from her teammates, remonstrating. So
yep.
Just get in there.
Spot on. And example 5. All right, someone want to have a go on this one?
Just pretty straightforward holding the ball. He's picked the ball up after the marking contest, run off, been tackled from behind, and he's attempted a handball it, I think, but he's dropped it, holding the ball.
Okay, so I wouldn't say it's straightforward because the issue is, has he had a prior opportunity? And if we look at it, again, going back to the old instruction, which I was talking about from Bill before, we used to say 1 or 2 steps wasn't a prior opportunity. That is changed now. Has he had a chance to handle or kick? That's the prior opportunity part. So here, has he had a chance to handle or kick? And so if he hasn't had a chance to handle or kick, and he makes a genuine attempt and it spills loose, let's play on. If he has had a prior opportunity and he doesn't handle or kick, then it's holding the ball. So in this case here, it's a 50-50 call. And so the way we used to judge things, we used to err on the side of the ball player and not pay it. And here, these days, we tend to pay the holding the ball. So we could argue that he has had a chance to handball at the moment. He took possession of the ball. So there is a prior opportunity. I think the right call is, Jason, you got it right. I think in this case, it is holding the ball with the way we umpire it these days. But it is another example of a 50-50 call. And so our philosophy is to pay them these days. Any questions on that? All right, someone else has got their noise up.
I think it's Grantley.
If you want to just mute yourself, that would be good. All right. Trying to work out how I can mute everyone again. All right.
Open up the participants tab, and then there's a mute all button.
It might be Vic actually. Oh, there's a couple here that are. Yeah, got it sorted. All right, I'll just keep going. I'll roll at 3 because we're running out of time. So I'll just give you the answers to the rest. So the examples tonight about marking contest. So paying the obvious free kicks. Nice and obvious one here. Over the shoulder. And it goes to advantage. The key to seeing that marking contest free kick is being in the right position. So just in front of the side-on position where you can. And umpire there moves and anticipates it's going to kick down that way and gets in the right position to see obvious and blatant push. So a trigger is something that we need to look for. So does he have eyes for the ball? If he doesn't have eyes for the ball, it doesn't mean it's an automatic free kick, but it suggests it could be a free kick, and that'll be explained in this one here. So last possession in the sample, he takes the ball and has a kick. And an all player there doesn't have eyes for the ball. The reason it's a free kick is because he makes contact with the player that is going for the ball and stops him from marking it. So it's not that he doesn't have eyes for the ball that it's a free kick, it's because he makes contact and stops the player taking the mark. But the fact he doesn't have eyes for the ball is a trigger for their likelihood of being a free kick. So a lot of our cases are on the side of the ball player. So this one here, there's not a lot of contact, but there's only one player going for the ball. So he pays the marking interference for chopping his arms. It goes to advantage. So another trigger was a player marking on his own. You just have to be aware of the players in the area. So this one here, you can see the player that's going to clearly take the mark, but the players near him are where the focus mainly should be as an umpire, because there is a hold there, and it's well picked up by the umpire because he's aware of what's going on. So if it's an early leap and there's contact made and the player doesn't touch the ball, then that's marking interference. So jumps early, contacts the player, free kick. Unrealistic attempt.
So, Colin, I had one on the weekend where a guy went up to take a specky, used his hands on the back of the guy's shoulder, but didn't touch the ball. That's a free kick, isn't it?
If he's put his hands into his back to put the player out and does that first and then goes to the ball, it's 2 actions, and that's a free kick. That's what you mean?
So I got it right then. No, so the guy was going up for a specking and just put his hands on the guy's shoulders, but he never actually touched the ball.
He never touched the ball.
He never touched the ball.
Did he put that? Did he make contact with the other player? Did he put him out of the contest?
He only put his hands on his shoulders. He didn't. He just jumped up on his back, put his hands on his shoulders.
So he made contact with the player, didn't touch the ball, free kick.
Yeah, because they were trying to argue that I don't know the rules on that one. So.
Oh, Payne, we know you know the rules. So, all right, 2 actions. So there's a push first and then goes for the mark, trying to say that he did it with his, he tried to bump him out first, but 2 actions. Pushed him out of the contest, then goes for the mark, it's a free kick.
Oh.
So just reacting to what happens. Obvious and blatant push. And then the advantage. And if you haven't got control of the play, you're the other umpire, number 2, but it's coming towards you. You need awareness of where the ball is. But a lot of your vision needs to be on the players in your zone. Then you can pick up these early infringements. So quite clearly that poor player has swung the South player around and put him out of the contest. And if you didn't have your eyes forward of the play, then you would miss that type of free kick. So last comments, position, side on, distance, and just react to what happens. That's the coaching video, guys. Any other comments or questions before we wind up? All right.
Oh.
Yeah, mate.
With that third to last one where it was the Westies and Souths player, it was the push in the back and then the players continued on with it. Then there was the sling tackle to the ground. After the push was played, the umpires then called, then there was a tackle after the whistle and he slung him to the ground.
I can't remember that, mate. I'd have to go back and have a look. So you're saying it's a subsequent free kick?
Well, I'd play the push like you said, and then after the whistle, there's the sling tackle.
Right.
So then potentially reverse that, and then.
Yeah, if you think there's a sling or dangerous tackle that's worthy of penalising, you can either pay 25 or reverse. Yeah. Yeah, just react to what happens. You're saying it was in those videos just then?
It was the third to last.
All right, I'll have to go back and have a look at it, mate. I'll look at it and then get back to you, let you know.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for logging on. We'll send out the notes via email. All the best for your game this coming weekend, and we've got off to a good start. Let's just keep that standard up.
Thanks, Cole.
Hey, the power. Crow still bottom.
All right. I need to wind up these teleconferences a bit quicker so we don't get those poor comments at the end. All right. Got any, guys?
I like the colour.
See you, Colin.